so much drama, trauma in fishing, dude. It's almost getting to a point where it's absolutely obnoxious, and I've kind of had enough. I love watching fishing. I love watching real fishing, live fishing, tournament fishing, Roland Martin going, son. Love it all, dude. But all this freaking back and forth bantering, like bickering and like, yeah, I don't like the way you're taking away entry fee. I don't like that. I want like flat out brawls, dude. I was talking to JT. You guys know him, the mayor of Palm Bay.
Between us and her or him, you never know. Let's not be judgmental here. You know, let's be inclusive. Between us and that fish, there's a lot of what I like to call obstacles.
The Ginger Ninja, you know, one of my good buddies down in Florida, and he's like, bro, you need to check this out. This year, I'm doing the team series. I'm like, what the hell is that? He's like, I'll tell you in a minute, but you need to freaking watch it. And I'm like, why? He's like, hold my beer, watch this. So I watched it. It's kind of cool. It's back to grassroots and it's old school fishing. So hit that like and subscribe button. I'm gonna kind of lay out why the team series could actually, at least kind of, save tournament fishing. So first off, let's lay out the format. And I got the straight juice from my buddy Jacob. So basically these guys get on a boat. It's teams of two. They get to pick their partner. There's kind of like a draft system that they use. And what's really cool is Jacob was telling me, he's like, dude, I've always wanted to fish with Bobby Lane. He's been like a mentor of mine and we know each other, but I've never had the opportunity to fish with him. So Jacob fished with Bobby in the last one, man. So like you can fish with somebody you've always wanted to fish with, like that dream ultimate trip. You can fish with your buddy, like Dustin Connell and Jacob Wheeler fish together, or you can fish with whoever you want. Just pick somebody random, maybe somebody who you think you'll sync up well and like team up well together and kind of complement each other. They fish a different lake every day and they don't know what the lake will be until the morning of. Then they get a paper map, dude. Like, here you go, like old school. They only get 15 minutes to go look around on the lake. Like there's no practice period. And that's where FFS sort of gets, it's not banned, but it sort of gets formatted out, right? These guys are forced to sort of just get after it and fish by instinct. And what that means is usually a forward-facing bite, it takes some days of practice to develop. You have to scan, you have to idle around. Well, dude, with 15 minutes, you go drive around the lake, you look at like, there's some grass, there's some hyacinth, there's a clay bank. Like that's what you look at and you're like, all right, here we go. They're not allowed to fish during that practice period. All they can do is look around. So basically what Jacob told me is you're fishing what's right in front of you, dude. I'm always trying to understand what these guys are thinking, right? So now that they're on a team, they got to make decisions, but they got to make them together. So they're forced to verbalize like why they want to do something, because the other guy might be like, no, I don't want to do that. Why do you want to do that? So they have to like talk through like what they're doing, why they're doing, and why they want to do it. It's like, no, dude, I don't want to do that. Thrift and his partner got into it, dude, for like 2 or 3 minutes on OH Ivy, going back and forth, like conflict, freaking yelling, arguing. And dude, I love that stuff. These guys have egos, man. I don't care what anybody says. If you're fishing at that high of a level, that's 2 big egos in the boat, and they're gonna clash sometimes. I want to see that. That's like Maury stuff, dude. Like, yes, you are the daddy, you know? So the other thing is they're going to Florida, right? They're in there right now. I'll put a link to it, actually, if you guys want to go check it out at MLF. There's a link down in the description box. They're in Florida fishing. There could be on a variety of lakes, Stick Marsh, Headwaters, Three Forks. I don't know exactly what lakes because they don't disclose it. So all of those lakes are mainly shallow water fisheries. They have donks in them, and they're super dynamic. So there's a few things, and I kind of talked with JT. I'm like, what do you think's going to be going on? Like, he's fished those lakes. I've filmed him fishing those lakes, catching some absolute giants, and it's the first cool-off period down in Florida. So a lot of those bigger fish, because usually the biggest fish spawn the earliest. So a lot of those bigger fish are going into the pre-spawn mode. And with this kind of format where it's a cumulative weight, like one giant fish can blow it out of the water, dude. So there's going to be a lot of stuff going on. I'm going to tell you the wild card in a minute. But what I'm seeing is these guys can be throwing popping frogs. They can be dragging a stick bait. That's like one of the kings, dude. A gambler fat ace on a 3/16. That's JT's juice, dude. He actually won a tournament on Toho doing that. He is super good at it, at spawning and pre-spawn fish around pad stems and that. There's all these different kinds of cover. So these guys are really going to have to kind of analyze and be like, I want to fish there. I want to fish there. The other thing is these pre-spawn schools, they don't set up like a school on Gunnersville, right? Where they're all grouped up in 6 to 8 foot of water, 12 foot of water, 15 on like some little break or something. They're in like an area, like 100 by 100 yard area, but they're all spread out. You actually have to fish through to like pick it apart and catch them, or you find a stretch and you got to pick it apart in different ways. So that's going to be kind of interesting, is how these guys actually pick these apart. Does one guy flip? Does one guy cast? Do they both flip? One of the best bites, if they end up on headwaters, is flipping this time of year. It's like that early pre-spawn bite in the hydrilla. Trap, lipless, absolutely killer, especially on stick marsh around the stumps. Carolina rig, dragging around, but shallow, like 3 to 4 foot. I did a video on that a couple years ago. Like, there's some epic bites, all of them being mostly shallow this time of year. They're schooling fish, spinnerbait. JT actually caught like an 11 and change on headwaters this time of year.
I have to get down here and get this one. That's not Sun, that's Nadine. Come here, Nadine. She straight up whammy cackled that thing. I mean, that's a great big giant bass. I don't know if any folks at home, you're watching this, that's a great big giant bass.
So like spinnerbait, chatterbait, obviously. The wild card is going to be, and this is where the cumulative weight thing plays, and this is me talking to JT, and he's like, dude, we've gotten so much rain down here, there's moving water. So like Helene went through, I feel so bad for my guys in North Carolina, but Helene went through, it didn't really hit Florida that hard, but it dropped a bunch of rain. And then next hurricane went through, dropped a bunch of rain. And that rain and that water all gets shifted around by the Army Corps of Engineers. A lot of these lakes like Kenansville, Stick Marsh, Headwaters, Three Forks, they're all connected by canals, but they have like water gates on them that open and close. So when they open those gates, you start getting current. And you guys know as well as I do, these fish love current. They will stack up. And unlike, fishing a ledge or fishing something where the current's moving on Guntersville or on the TVA, it's usually like a little chute. Like, I remember one time I was filming with JT out there, and dude, he's like, hold my beer, watch this. And I'm like, all right. So I'm filming, and we pull up this little cut in between two heads of Kissimmee grass. He pulls out a trap. Dude, it's this deep, like nothing, but water's flowing through. And dude, he freaking smashed them. He caught like 25 pounds in, I think it was like 2.5 hours, caught probably 40 or 50 fish, all trapping that little current thing that's coming through the cut, and they're right on like a little shell bar break afterwards. So if one of these teams finds one of these current breaks on one of these lakes or one of these dump-ins, like one of these canal openings, dude, they could absolutely smash them. You don't always catch giants, but you can smoke numbers. The funny thing that a lot of people don't know about in Florida is we have tons of spawns, right? And that spawn can start as early as like September. The wild card is we got these hurricanes that go through. It dropped the water temperatures a bit because of all that rain. It's been pretty mild down there. But if it cooled the water temps enough and these fish start getting in the mood, there could be very isolated pods of fish spawning. Now, they're going to be hard to find. And it's going to be one of those things where you're picking something apart and you're like, is that a bed? Oh my God, I just caught a 7-pounder. What's going on? But if they find some of those early spawning fish, they're usually the biggest fish in the lake. And dude, you can stack them, bro, because they'll spawn in a certain area. It's almost like a certain group of fish moves up, spawns in that area, and they always do it early. So if they bump into some early spawners on Stick Marsh, Headwaters, or in some crazy flat Three Forks or one of the lakes, I don't know, Garcia maybe, it could get absolutely ridiculous. The format is great because I don't think rules are the fix for forward-facing sonar. That's just my opinion. I think format is. And what the team format does is it sort of, it deprioritizes forward-facing sonar because one, you don't have the time to use it, and two, you got two guys in the boat, so they both need to be actively fishing in order to kind of up your stats, your statistical likelihood of catching fish. So these guys got to figure out ways to work together, fish what's right in front of them without really using the old forward looker, as JT would say, too much. Even in the last tournament, it was at OHIV where you'd think it would be 100% forward facing. Jacob was telling me, dude, it didn't really play a role. Like, it was one on a freaking buzzbait for the most part. A lot of these guys throwing top water and stuff like that. So it's really a format that drives these guys to tap into some of those OG, old school techniques, those OG patterns, throwing a chatterbait, throwing a spinnerbait, throwing a swim jig, flipping, tapping into that shallow water cover, that shallow water structure where these fish traditionally set up. And it's cool. You're hearing their decisions. You're understanding why they're doing something. You're getting some arguments and stuff like the one Thrift had. I think it's something, it might not save tournament fishing, There's a lot of issues going on with it right now. There's no doubt about it. But what it does is it sort of turns back the clock, and it also makes things a lot more relatable. I don't know about you, but I'll fish a little wildcat derby here and there with my buddy, with Jacob, or with somebody like that. And that kind of format, I can relate to those guys fishing that format. They're probably a lot better than me, but I can relate to why they're making a decision, why they're changing something, why they're doing this and this and this. And that's what's cool. It really brings it back down to earth and makes it a lot more accessible, relatable, and there's a lot more information kind of like spawning out because these guys have to talk about these decisions. I'll drop a link to it too if you want to check it out. They're in Florida right now, fishing around in Palm Bay somewhere. There's a link to it down in the description box if you guys want to go check it out. I'm actually going to turn it on while I'm going to go fishing here because I want to listen to JT make some shenanigans comments.
She's got them thick hips. You know what I'm saying? I like them ladies with them thick hips this time of year.
It's a great format, and it's a great way to get to know these anglers, how they approach things in just a little more intimate, kind of informal setting. But let me know what you think down in the comments box. Hit that like and subscribe button for me. We will see you later. I'm going to go dip my cricket in some of these mats and see if I can't pull on one.